Brought to you by Center for Public Policy Research, Kochi. I am Nissi Solomon, Senior Research Associate at CPPR Center for Comparative Studies. CPPR is an independent public policy think tank based out in Kochi since 2004, and our work mainly covers public policy aspects of governance and economy, urban studies, and strategic studies. We also have a training and development arm called CPPR Academy. So to know more about what we do check out our website cppr.in or our social media handle CPPR India on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I once again extend a very warm welcome to all the participants here. Today we'll be discussing on the topic Gulf migration in the COVID-19 setting. And I'm extremely honored to introduce our panelists for the day. We have Ambassador KP Fabian. He has served in Indian Foreign Service from 1964 to 2000. His last posting was in Rome as ambassador to Italy. He is also a permanent representative to UN organizations including FAO, World Food Program, and IFAD. Even while in service, Ambassador Fabian wrote and spoke on international affairs, mainly at universities in Madagascar, Austria, Iran, Canada, Finland, Qatar, and Italy. So we are really glad to have you here with us. We also have Dr. Gino Zakaria Uman. He is an academic and political activist based in Trivandrum. Currently, he is also a member of Kerala Public Service Commission, Trivandrum. Prior to this, he was a visiting professor at FMSH Paris. Dr. Uman has held numerous fellowships and has been a visiting faculty at reputed universities India and abroad. To name a few, he has been a faculty at the University of Poitiers, France. He's been a faculty at Gulf Studies program at JNU, Indian Council for World Affairs, and Indian Center for Migration, to name a few. His publications include South Asian Migration to Gulf Countries, History, Policies, and Development. He has also published Ethnicity, Marginality, and Identity, The Jews of Cochin in Israel. He has published Asianization of Migrant Workers in Gulf Countries. And he has been conducting extensive field research in Israel, Palestine, France. So we're glad to have you here for the session.
Thank you.
The session will be moderated by Dr. Martin Patrick. He is Chief Economist of CPPR, and he is also a visiting fellow at Indian Maritime Institute, Ernakulam, and Xavier's Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Kochi. Dr. Martin Patrick secured his PhD in Applied Economics from Cochin University of Science and Technology, and he has worked as faculty of economics in various government organizations. He received his postdoctoral training at Tilburg University in Netherlands. He has won award of excellence in education instituted by Global Society for Health and Education Growth, New Delhi. He has completed various projects for ICSSR, CDS, Planning Board of Kerala, and the Gulati Institute. He has served as member of Graduate and Postgraduate Board of Studies of Calicut University, QUIZAT, Kalidi University, and Kerala University. So before we start the session, I would like to state some ground rules. The discussion will be for about 35 to 40 minutes, post which the virtual floor will be open to discussion. You may type in your questions in the chat box here and in the Zoom, and we'll address the questions to the speakers during the Q&A. If you are coming through Facebook Live, you may put your questions on the comment box, and our team will coordinate with it accordingly. Requesting all the participants except the speakers and moderators to keep their audios muted. And you can follow our live tweets and share your thoughts using the hashtag CPPR Live Webinars. In case any of your friends could not join, do let them know that this session is being live streamed on CPPR's Facebook. Thank you, and I now hand it over to Dr. Martin. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidya. Thank you for the nice words also. Okay, I'm directly getting into the business. Why? Because I don't want to spoil your valuable time. In fact, I would like to classify this presentation into three parts. The first is about the introductory remarks about the Gulf migration. The second is relating to the issues of returnees from Gulf countries. Then the third is something related to the policy aspects. So I'll be asking one question each to the speakers, the great speakers, and straight away I am asking the question because we want to listen you, the participants, and we have to take up maximum number of questions from you. So the first question goes to our ambassador and Professor K.P. Pabian. Sir, my question is, you know that we all know that the top destination of Kerala is really Gulf countries. There is a big problem. Always there is a lack of data relating to the exact magnitude of the workers or migrants working in the countries or other parts of the world. But we have some statistics. One prestigious work is done by Center for Development Studies under the label Kerala Migration Survey. And we have some data from the UN Migration Report 2019. As per the UN Migration Report 2019, the data is applicable to 2018. The total number of migrants in GCC, Gulf countries, is 10.41 million. That is something related to the magnitude of the immigrants in GCC. So, however, I don't want to get into the magnitude of the migrant laborers in Gulf countries and other parts of the world. So we know that the top destination is Gulf region. So my question is that for the last number of years, there has been a dipping in the growth of the migrants in the Gulf countries, number one. At the same time, we are saying that we are getting good amount of money from these countries also. So I ask you, what is so unique about the Gulf migration? Sir.
Thank you, Nissi, for that very cordial introduction, which has mathematically demonstrated that I am the youngest person attending this virtual meeting. Since I started work in 1964. In fact, some of the participants might have been even born after I retired in 2000. That's good. Now, let me say good morning to all of you, including participants from Warwick. Well, let me put it this way, very early good morning. Now, among the institutions, I found LSR Delhi, where I had gone recently, and also, of course, Christ College, Bangalore. But also, among the public, I hope there are some participants from the Gulf. Well, if they are not there this time, let's hope that they will participate next time. And before I answer the question posed to me, I just wanted to thank CPPR for inviting me, especially Shri Dhanuraj. He and I come from the same village, Udayamperu. Now, coming to the question about numbers, you know, we had started asking our community to register themselves with the Indian Embassy way back in early 1990s. I was in Doha. Let me get this thing right, in 92 to 97. We had then started asking our community to do that. Well, some of them complied, others did not. Now, to my mind, this is a problem which can be easily resolved. After all, India is a highly IT advanced country. So all that we have to do is to develop an app which our people who are in the Gulf already and our people who are going there for work, for migration, should activate when they reach there, and that information can be simultaneously given to the embassy concerned and also to MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, and perhaps even the Ministry of Labor. And it can be done, but I don't think it has been thought about and it has not been done. Another thing is that our embassies in the Gulf, well, they are doing a good job, but I feel that they can do a better job, for which they need more resources, they need bigger buildings, they need more officers. Now, somebody will tell us, look, how can we spend more money? Now, the fact of the matter is, our embassies in the Gulf are sending to External Affairs Ministry net remittances. Not only the Indian workers in the Gulf, our embassies also are earning foreign exchange. Because you take our embassy in Saudi Arabia, you see, normally embassies get a monthly remittance from MEA, but the embassies in the Gulf do not need that remittance, and their consular revenue is much in excess of their expenditure. So I don't see why we can't do that, and this should be done. Let me stop here for the time being.
So what is unique about the Gulf migration, sir? What is unique about the Gulf migration?
Okay, what is unique about the Gulf migration is that, you know, there was a time when people spoke of the Arabi Punna, that is the gold in Arabia, you know. So that was the sort of, you know, destination where, when suppose somebody is an electrician here, say in Kerala, well, he might gain, say, X rupees a month. But in the Gulf, he can probably gain 3x or 4x, and he can send home much more money. That is as regards that category. Then, of course, there are the other categories: doctors, managers, engineers, architects, and others. Now, for them also, what they can earn in Dubai is much more than what most of them can earn in say Kochi or Thiruvananthapuram. Let me give you a concrete example. My nephew, who is having an IT office in Dubai, he told me that he pays his staff in Dubai per capita twice what he pays in Kochi. He has an office in Kochi. Now, the fact of the matter is that the same Malayali from Kochi works in Dubai, according to my nephew, gives him twice the yield. So, in other words, he pays half X to the employee in Kochi and X to the employee in Dubai, and quite often both are Malayalis, though as a matter of fact, he has got others also. So, you know, that also is there. In other words, Malayalis work better outside Kerala.
Okay. Okay, I will move to Dr. Jinu Sakriya. In continuation of the remarks made by our Ambassador KP Fabian, I would like to ask, because you have worked on this area, particularly on the India-Gulf relations. So my question to you is, there is a connection, of course, between the Gulf countries and Kerala. So I am asking you, will it be changed after the COVID-19? Or what would be the India-Gulf relations after the COVID-19? Will it be also positive for Kerala? That is the question. Simple, straightforward question.
Thank you very much, CPPR and Dhanuraj, for giving this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Patrick. And I'm very privileged to be part of my guru and my teacher, Dr. Professor Ambassador KP Fabian. He's also in the panel. I'm very happy to have him here. So, in replying to your question, what is the future of the India-Gulf relations? I mean, India-Gulf relation is a strategic relation. There is nothing no change is going to happen there, because that will continue, because remittances or migration per se is not the only component in the India Gulf migration, because we largely depend on the Gulf for our energy security, for our oil, for the trade, for many other things. So like any other countries, it will continue. But as far as Kerala is concerned, that is where our issue is. Now the Gulf migration. Now please understand, that's what I want to tell you even to the moderator. Our debate today, we should not confine to India and Kerala. The ambit of our debate in this particular topic has to be, we have to widen it up, because South Asia Gulf Migratory Corridor is the largest corridor in the world. And around 17 million, that is roughly, that's a rough estimate, 17 million South Asian migrants from these 5-6 countries are working in the Gulf. And Kerala is only a part of it, number one. Number two, that is where I want to assert that this is part of an Asianization of migration in the Gulf. That is my latest work. You know why? Because they are not going to give, Gulf countries are not making us some kind of a mercy or a help. Because this is a choice, this is a migration based on preference and choice. This is a preferred migration for the Gulf. Why? Because the South Asian migrants, particularly the Indian migrants, are neutral. We are not politically aggressive. We are hardworking, submissive. These are some of the stereotypes which they have about the South Asian workforce, particularly about the Kerala and the Indians. They don't want the Gulf countries from the 60s and 70s, they have taken a position. They are not going to invite the migrant workers from the Arab countries. For example, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Palestine, Lebanon. These countries, because they will come, they will make trade unions, they make associations, they will create a political problems there, number one. Number two, after the Iraqi-Kuwait war, the withdrawal of the Yemenites and the Palestinian from the Gulf, that has given larger space for the South Asians and Southeast Asians, and particularly Keralites. For the post-90s, this is the trend today. So, but there is a change from 2000 onwards. What is that change? There is a vast availability of migrants today in the Gulf. They have options. The COVID-19 has brought a new terminology called disposable migrants. What is disposable migrants? That they can throw migrants anytime, a new set of migrants will come. Therefore, as far as Kerala is concerned, so you directly your question is that the Kerala is highly depending on the Gulf, and that might continue. I can't say a guarantee now. Post-COVID, what is the situation? In the grim economic situation, how many people are going to get the job? That is $1 million question. One more point I want to add here. For the last 30 years, in the Gulf migration, there were 3 difficult phases. One was Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. Second was the global economic crisis. The third was Nitakat. And all these phases, somehow the migrant workers, even the Keralites, were able to overcome. But the COVID-19, we are unable to say, because there is a zero mobility at this moment. Boundaries have been tightened up. The private sectors are closing down. And therefore, the question of the future of the Gulf migration can be grim. And according to Professor Irudaya Rajan, who is an expert, he predicted yesterday that around 12 lakh Indians might come back. So around 12 lakh. What are the reasons? I'm going to stop now because we have other questions. So I will explain that further. Thank you.
Okay, sir. I was very clear. In fact, I know well that our focus is the return migrants. As a part of the introductory remarks, I asked this question to you. Now I move to Professor K.P. Pabian. In continuation of this remark made by Dr. Jinu Sakria, Professor K.P. Pabian, my question is there any connection between the 91 crisis you faced in Iraq and the present crisis that you are going to witness in Gulf countries? You can elaborate your views based on your experiences in Iraq as an ambassador. Okay. And at the same time, I would also ask you, along with that, how do you evaluate the Vande Mataram mission also? Professor K.P. Fabia.
Thank you. Let me hear the first question once again, please. I got the Vande Mataram issue right.
You were heavily involved in the Iraq crisis in sending our Malayalis or Indians from there to our countries. Can you share your experience with that by comparing the present crisis in Gulf countries?
What
that is the first part of my question.
Thank you. Let me start with the first part. That was, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now, that was, on the 2nd of August, 1990, I got a phone call. I was Joint Secretary Gulf. I got a phone call from a friend in Kuwait that Iraqi army has come in. And then, of course, our first thought was about our own people, what will happen to the community. And also, we wanted to avoid a war. So we tried our best. Foreign Minister Gujral went to New York and Washington, and he came to the conclusion that Americans want a war. And therefore, we had to take the decision that our community had to be evacuated. Then we went to Iraq, we met Saddam Hussein. Poor Gujral was condemned for embracing Saddam Hussein as though there was a choice. When the host is coming to come and embracing you, can you tell him, yeah, don't touch me? So that was that. Then we arranged for the Air India, through Air India, and it went smoothly, though there were problems. But only one problem, because of the time factor, I want to mention, and that is that I was once in Amman, and the Air India manager told me, I was having breakfast, same hotel, he was there. He said, sir, there is a big problem. The Air India staff walked out on me last night at 11 o'clock. Well, it was difficult for me to get the story right, but basically the Air India staff waiting since 6 o'clock. They walked out at 11 o'clock after waiting for passengers who were late, not because of any fault of theirs. That's a different matter. We will not go into it. Anyway, he wanted me to talk to the crew. I didn't talk to them. And I called Firdaus Khargamwala, who was a Hindu correspondent in Bahrain. He was in the foreign service earlier, but he got disenchanted. He went back to the Hindu. So I told him, listen, Firdaus, I want you to carry a story that Air India is doing a magnificent job. Passengers can come 1 hour late or 7 hours late. Doesn't matter. Air India is always there with a smile, with a namaste. And then he asked me, is that true? I said, it's not true, but it will be true tomorrow if you carry the story. He hummed and hawed. Then I said, listen, you carry the story as from a senior joint secretary, nobody will find fault with you. So he carried the story, and the next day, the Air India manager came to me with a big smile. Sir, everything is okay. The crew says there will be never any problem. Why? Oh, there was a meeting of the Association of the Crew in Bombay and another of the Guild of Pilots in Bombay saying that there is media praise for Air India. So we have to earn the praise. So that is how it happened. So it helps to praise the people. Now coming to Vande Mataram, my issue with that is that, it should have been free for the workers, because many workers, they had not been paid for the last 2 months, 3 months. Now to expect them to pay for it was wrong. And one solution would have been the community there. Our communities are very good. They could have organized it. And I spoke to a community leader in Qatar, and he told me that, well, we haven't thought about it, and it's not all that easy. But I think a clear decision should have been taken by the government that, well, our first preference is that the community takes care of it in cooperation with the embassy. But if there is still a backlog, then Government of India will meet it. That was necessary. That was not done. But let's see now what happens.
Okay. What about the Vande Mataram mission now going on?
Well, it is successful partly, but we still have a long way to go. I still get, phone calls from people saying that, look, they had asked for a seat and they are not getting it. In fact, there was one case where a young lady, she was pregnant and in an advanced stage, and she was not getting it. Then I spoke to the ambassador and she got it. But let me tell you one thing. When they register, our embassy doesn't give them a number, because if there is a number, then they can phone up and ask. So I think there is need for a little more of transparency. And also, Kuwait and other countries had agreed to fly out our people on their own. So that also we could exploit it. But anyway, what I mean is that, I don't want to speak too much about the past.
Okay. Okay, well, Dr. Jinul Sakriya, I think you will be able to compare the Vande Mataram mission with the chartered flights also, or you can take it as a single thing and you can evaluate the Vande Mataram mission and the chartered flights program. Along with that, I am asking you one more question, that what is really the cost of this return migrants? Particularly, you have talked about the social mobility aspect of Kerala after we went to Gulf countries or other parts of the world. This social mobility aspect, will it be affected adversely as a result of these return migrants? That is another part of my question. Okay, when you answer, I expect that you would like to classify the return of migrants into skilled laborers and unskilled laborers, because I find some problems in the area of unskilled laborers, which should be addressed properly. Okay, sir. Dr. Jinul Sakriya.
Dr. Patrick, what was the second question? Vande Mataram mission and chartered flights, I got it. What was the second question?
It is a cost of return of migrants, cost of return of migration. Are you following?
Yes.
The cost of return of migration and also the social mobility aspect. How would it be impacted? The social mobility aspect would be impacted, because under the cost aspect, you need not stick on with the economic cost alone. The social cost should be taken into account. That while you evaluate the economic cost, definitely try to demarcate the issue of skilled laborers from that of unskilled laborers.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. See, first of all, Vande Mataram mission and chartered flights. What we are getting, Ambassador Fabian is the best expert on that, because he's a retired IFS officer, very veteran ambassador. So he has already answered. But let me tell you, this is in the 1990s, what Ambassador Fabian and the team, what they did was a repatriation. It was free of cost. And they went, they checked. It was very difficult situation. There was no WhatsApp, no social media, no Facebook. It was the most difficult time the people like Fabian worked. And not only that, I would like to also salute some of the businessmen who helped and who worked tirelessly for the evacuation that time. And there is a movie has been made, it was called Airlift, that clearly shows what was the vigor in which Ambassador Fabian and the other IFS officer did. And now, Vande Mataram mission is a non-scheduled flights where you have to pay. Now, what is the situation? Let me come. Let us get into the bottom of that. Yesterday, in the Kerala High Court, a writ petition was filed by the Lawyers Without Borders, by the young lawyer called Subhash Chandran. What was the plea? The plea was the net result of the COVID-19. What are the impact? Unemployment, underemployment, non-payment of salaries, non-payment of salary benefits, non-payment of retirement benefits, and even the people who died there during these 3 months were supposed to get compensation that have not been paid. South Asian workforce, which is the backbone of the Gulf economy, the last 3 months we are seeing they are knocking door to door, not for a basic requirement, even for the food. It is basically the Pravasi organizations and the charity organizations are providing them the food. So what really happened, the private employees always taken as a pretext every crisis. Even in the 1990 crisis, Ambassador Fabian may be able to elaborate more. The private construction companies or the manufacturing companies or the private employers, they immediately terminate these employers. They take it as a pretext. They won't pay anything. So what was the net result of this for last 3 months? There was forceful eviction because they don't have money to pay the rent. The second thing, they don't have food. They don't even buy a bathing soap. So in this context, how you expect a migrant to pay for this Vande Mataram mission? This is a big question that we are addressing. Even in Kerala, we are giving them kits, food kits. Why? Because there is a lockdown. Migrant workers are unable to do their daily work, so we are providing them. So Vande Mataram mission, in a way, it's a non-scheduled flight. Vulnerable communities have been accommodated there, like pregnant, like elderly and other things. The real migrants are yet to come. There are two reasons for that. That is where the chartered flights are doing a fantastic job. I'm not saying that Vande Mataram mission are not doing, but chartered flights are flying free. They are bringing these migrants free of cost. Please understand, they don't have money to pay. And Bangladesh understood this real situation. And what they are doing, Bangladesh, they are giving the 5,000 taka, that is their currency, on arrival. And they are also giving 3 to 5 lakh rupees as a loan for doing any kind of an employment or business. And also the people who died there, they're giving another 3 lakhs. So therefore, what is the situation now is they are stranded. They are a distressed migration. They don't have money, and that the government should take care. That Ambassador Fabian has said they are doing a good job. But these certain points where the miseries of the migrants become doubled in the COVID-19. So therefore, that part we have to take care, and how to evacuate them. If Professor Rajan's prediction is correct, there will be another 10 lakhs to come. Whether they have money to come, that's $1 million question. At least Kuwait government has declared amnesty. Through the amnesty, the travel of a migrant back home is free. We are expecting that more countries are going to declare the amnesty. That is the first part of that. The second part of that, the socio-economic mobility in Kerala. See, the socio-economic mobility from 1970s, from the stagnation of Kerala, that got a major boost because of the remittances. 90,000 crores were the remittances that was remitted in Kerala last year. 80 billion was for India. Around 20 billion that the Pakistan remitted. 18 billion Bangladesh. 8.45 billion Nepal. Another 5 billion Sri Lanka. Altogether, South Asian countries remitted 140 billion. According to the World Bank, there are going to be a drop of 20%. Am I right, Professor Fabian? Is it right?
Yes,
yes, 20%.
Unfortunately, you're right.
20% fall is going to happen in the post-COVID situation. Now, the real question is that Kerala government is facing now is that how to cope up with the situation, because there is going to be a zero mobility. The Gulf countries, their future and also the economic situation is going to be grim. Now, there are two things. Yesterday, I gave in an interview in FM radio in Dubai. So I mentioned only these things. The Gulf, traveling to Gulf is a dream. Gulf is an illusion for many because, Arabic wonder, that's what exactly Fabian has mentioned. It's an illusion and a dream. And I don't think there is a great difference between the wages and the benefits. What a Bengali and a Bihari is earning in Kerala and what a Keralite is earning in the Gulf. At this present context, there is not a much difference. Therefore, the Kerala government have to think. Now, Kerala government has declared a dream initiative project to integrate. Now, what is the 3 mantras of before us, origin countries? Resettlement, reintegration, and rehabilitation of the migrants. Cash transfer, that Professor Rajan and others are advocating. But I am advocating as a successful reintegration of these migrants. For example, a plumber or a carpenter from a village, a Mavelikara, has gone to Gulf. In that place, a Bihari or a Bengali or Assami has taken over. Now, in the COVID situation, these internal migrants have left Kerala. Now, there is a vast space of employment now is vacant. The question is how to utilize the skills of these migrants. Maximum utilization of the skills and resources of the migrants in the most constructive way. That should be the policy. Because the Gulf is a technologically advanced state. The work environment is different. The technology is different. So they are coming with a large amount of skills and resources and experience. And the state government should be able to tap that. That is my suggestion.
But I feel that there is some social bottlenecks to accept the jobs in our local places as far as the return migrants are concerned. This is a big bottleneck for them. So is it possible for us to rehabilitate them easily in the places where the interstate migrants left that job? Is it possible?
That is precisely, Dr. Patrick, you made the point. The point is, in Malayalam we say Duravimanam, right? To take any kind of a job, there is some kind of an inhibition within the Malayali to do or take up job within the Kerala, but they don't have a problem to do in Coimbatore. They don't have a problem to do in Chennai or in Gulf. That is the real issue. That work, that dignity of labor. See, Kerala is a very egalitarian society. Kerala is in all ways a very progressive society. And Kerala has evolved for last 100 years in a different way. We have Renaissance movement, reform movement. We have broken the shackles of caste and patriarchy. But in the workplace, that taboo is still there. That we have to break. What is that taboo? That social taboo even today, but that's why. That I will give you the example. That I will give you the suggestions. That is, when you compare to UP, Bihar, Rajasthan, even Bangladesh, even Tamil Nadu, the migrants who have gone to Gulf, their educational qualification, if you compare, they'll be less than 10th class or 10th class or 8th class, or they are less than higher secondary. But according to the CDS, that is the main point. That is, nobody is mentioning that. According to the CDS, the average education of a Kerala migrant in the Gulf is +2. They have completed the higher secondary before going to Gulf. Many of them have completed graduation. Many of them have completed the technical course. So with this education in his hand, it is difficult. Socially, it is a problem for him to work within his village. That taboo has to be changed. How to be changed? Government is coming with some suggestion that we can have a cooperative of a pool of different technicians, technocrats, carpenters. Even for the other jobs, we can have a pool of certain cooperative or some kind of a company can be registered, like in all over the world, like in the West. So you register. Suppose if I want some electrician, he should enter that site, ask for the electrician. A proper wage should be paid, and it should be in a dignified way that the employed and employer should behave. I think these things will evolve. Why it should evolve? Because the bridges have been burned. There is no other way a migrant can go back to any other countries. All over, it is difficult.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jinusakriya. I know that the participants will have a number of questions at this stage, but we enter the last part of the presentation. The last part is related to the policy aspect. After that, you can ask questions. So my question goes to our ambassador and Professor K.P. Fabian. My question to you, sir, what are the lessons to the national politicians from this return of migration from Gulf countries, and also your experience elsewhere? I also have a question along with this. Already there is a saying that there will be a change in the economic order after the COVID-19. There is a saying that China will be the superpower or something like that. Do you expect that there will be a change in the World Economic Order? If so, what would be its impact on Kerala?
Okay, let me start with the second question first. That is
Okay.
about the World Economic Order. You said after the COVID, we are still in the COVID phase. Let's hope that we will get out of it soon. First thing I want to say is that, political scientists speak of political order, economic order, and all that. But in the real world, there is a lot of disorder. More disorder than order. Now, as far as the COVID situation is concerned, China is comparatively in a better position in the sense that they have gone through it, and well, there has been another sort of set of infections, but hopefully they will, take care of it. So that way, they are better off. But at the same time, China has, by various actions, spoiled its relations with the rest of the world. China has spoiled its good reputation by being difficult with India at the border. China has spoiled its relations by getting tough on Hong Kong. And whatever be China's role or President Trump's role, China-US relations are at a very low ebb. And even the European Union, has become very, what shall I say, circumspect about China, because they are saying that China will buy up companies which are in distress. And the European Union has taken the decision that, look, we have to keep an eye and we cannot permit such purchases of companies just like that. So in other words, while on the one hand, China will be in a better position to resurrect its economy after the COVID, but on the other hand, China's relations with the rest of the world are not in a good shape. So it cuts both ways. So I don't expect China to gain so much, economically. There will be pluses and minuses. Now, coming to the first question, what have our political leaders learned? What are the lessons they should learn? Well, I'm sorry to say, it appears, and I shall be glad to be proved wrong, they haven't learned many lessons. Though I should say that the state of Kerala has handled it much better than other states. What I would suggest is that the government of Kerala should right now set up a team. In the case of COVID, don't forget, the first infection was on the 31st of January, but by the time the Kerala state had already appointed a high power committee, the state minister of health had taken the initiative. So I would suggest that in this case, a figure of 10 lakhs was mentioned. That may happen, it may not happen, but let us be clear in our mind that there is a huge reverse migration happening. And we have to be prepared for that. And the best thing is for the government of Kerala to have a team of experts from the government and outside the government, especially Center for Development Studies and others, to put together to find out what is happening, in the Gulf. Not only COVID, but because of, the decline in the price of oil and gas, the Gulf economies are not ship-shape. And the COVID has only aggravated the problem. So I think we have to apply our mind and study it and be prepared. And it's not easy. It's not going to be easy. As Professor Gino mentioned, it's not going to be easy. But, there is nothing which we cannot face and handle if we are go about it in a methodical manner.
Sir, will there be any new destination for our Keralites, like Gulf countries or any other new destinations?
Well, according to the ILO, the number of people finding employment outside their country, that number is not going up.
Yes.
That number is going down. So we'll have to wait and see.
Nowadays, people say that African countries are viewed as a new destination for people in India.
Yeah,
what do you think about this?
No, we can do that provided our big companies get active there, because some African countries are giving you land, long lease for agriculture, and China has taken over.
Yes, yes.
I don't know about Indian companies, maybe they have taken over, but we can do that if our big companies get the act together. Don't forget, we have a huge Africa fund. I don't think it is put to the best possible use. So Africa can be a destination, but it will be a different destination. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm moving to Jinu Sakria, the last question. After that, participants, please be ready. Dr. Jinu Sakria, do you think that there is a need for migration policy or the change in the migration policy in this new context? Okay, number one. Number two is, we have a new project, what is called the rehabilitation for the returnees under the name Dreams Kerala. How do you evaluate that? Do you think that there should be some change, especially in line with your earlier remarks? You have made some suggestions for rehabilitating the returnees in the local workplace. In this context, let me ask you whether the Dream Kerala is the right project. Do you think that there should be some change in that project? Please answer.
Yeah, thank you, sir. See, actually, we don't have a migration policy. And India is the largest migrant-sending country. 17 million migrants are working all over the world. Unfortunately, we have yet to formulate a migration policy so far, number one. Number two, at this moment, the need of the hour is a comprehensive migrant governance management system that not only for India, even for both host and home countries have to come together, sit together, and to create a comprehensive migrant strategy package. We have to think about it. Unfortunately, there is an ILO convention. There are a number of ILO conventions, UN conventions regarding to the migrants. ILO Convention on the Protection of the Migrant and Migrant Families, which came to effect in 2003. None of the Gulf countries have signed. I think only Sri Lanka has signed so far. There is a global compact for safe migration. That resolution was passed. The UN non-binding resolution was passed. Even India is a signatory to it. Nothing has happened. Much more, an experienced IFS officer is here, Dr. Fabian, he will be able to tell you. There are a humpty number of multilateral, bilateral agreements in papers. Nothing. There is no use of that. And ultimately, when it comes to the ground, there is nothing. You know why I am saying this? Let me tell you an example for that. According to the bilateral agreements, that the employer in the Gulf countries have to sign with the employee a full insurance. That is their medical protection. And the COVID-19 has exposed something remarkable. What was that? When there was a complete lockdown, when the flights were stopped flying between the borders, then there was panic. Then if you remember in the month of March, in the TV channels when there was a discussion, these representatives of the migrant workers and the Prawasis were asking not for food, not for repatriation, not for water. They were asking for basic medicines. That is, lifestyle medicines, diseases medicine, lifestyle diseases. What are the lifestyle diseases? Cholesterol, diabetes, blood pressure, even kidney, liver, these issues. Then the world, the policy makers, the politicians came to know that the migrants are carrying these medicines from home, from their home countries. 3 to 4 months of medicines they carry. Or sometimes once it is over, they will ask their friends to bring it up. Then what does it mean? So it shows that even a basic medicine they are unable to buy in the Gulf. So they were asking Kerala government to send these basic medicines. So my fundamental question is, even all these policies and all these bilateral agreements, all these, even all are false. It's a fallacy of the medical protection which has been. So we need to have a proper migration policy, a migrant management system and governance system. That is the need of the hour, number one. Now the Dream Kerala project. Now Ambassador Fabian has narrated it very clearly. What is this is an unprecedented situation, because we never had this kind of a situation before. The Takat, yes, few people were, they had come, we did something, but what is the need of the hour is that policymakers, bureaucrats, even the leaders, they have to sit together. We have to formulate how to rehabilitate them. 1990, our experience, I did my field research in Kuwait. I've interviewed the people who have witnessed the war, who came and then returned back. They told me during the interview that the nurses, paramedic, technicians, technocrats, all of them they joined small jobs, whatever was available in Kerala. They went to neighboring states and they didn't sit back at home. They didn't wait for the government. At that time, we never had NORCA. We never had these government policies. So they went and took up job of their own. Now the situation has changed. Now the government has to think. Now there are three different categories I will categorize these migrants. Number one is unskilled, which I said there should be an app. We should think about it. And also there are professionals who are coming. See, there is salary cuts and retrenchment in the Gulf. It's not only for the semi-skilled, low-skilled migrants. Even for professionals, IT professionals, high-tech professionals, the people who are working in travel agencies, people who are working in the companies. I know many of my friends, they got the notice that their salary will be reduced to 30% from last month. So how you are going to accommodate them? So it's very difficult. We are talking only about the unskilled, semi-skilled one. Even what about the professional? Maybe some doctors will come. Maybe some IT professionals will come. So how you are going to accommodate that? That is a larger question that the government have to sit together. That's what government said, Dream Kerala initiative. When the chief minister announced that, he said, we are waiting forward for suggestions from the public. Now the people have to suggest, and the migrants from their experience have to suggest. Policymakers have to suggest. Then a committee will be set up, hopefully soon, and then they have to evaluate, they have to formulate a rehabilitation policy soon.
Okay, thank you. Unlike the normal programs, we followed a conversation type of presentation, a question answer session. Now the participants can ask question. Nidya, you have to ask the questions.
Yes, sir. We have a couple of questions. This one is
Please louder.
Yes, we have one question from Siddharth Shanta Srinivas. Although this question is partly answered by Jinu sir, he wants to know and understand the exact breakup of blue-collar and white-collar workers among Malayali migrants in the Middle East. Further to this, he has asked if the state can support the influx of migrants without considerable central aid, especially considering the financial health of the state. The state had additionally introduced some key assistance and programs for MSMEs. So what can additionally be done? Should the state actively encourage and facilitate internal migration for white-collar workers?
So I think that Dr. Jinu can answer this question.
No, tell me one thing I didn't get. Just tell me very clear.
You didn't get. Please repeat the question, Nidya, once again.
First one, I got the data of blue collar, white collar job. That I got it. What was the second question?
Yeah, the second question is on how the state can support the influx without considering, considerable central aid, especially considering the financial health of the state. I think he means the state.
States, respective states, whether can do. Okay.
The financial health.
I got it, sir. So it's a blue collar, white collar job. As Ambassador mentioned, let me put it very frankly. We don't have another big data of migrants so far. CDS have, of course, they have a migration survey for last 3 or 7 migration survey they had. And the government of India, MEA, has a separate data. And also the UN or World Bank has some data. But, well, I don't believe in this data, but I can tell you that around 70% to 75% are blue collar. The vast majority of the South Asian workforce, not only Kerala, South Asian workforce are low-skilled, semi-skilled workers, number one. White-collar jobs, it started from 50s. Don't remember that it started from 70s. Even during the British Mandate, the Indians were the preferred migrants. So even there were paramedics, even the male nurses who were in the army, they used to go and work in the British hospitals there. The post in the British post office, in all these British offices in Dubai, in Kuwait, particularly Malayalis used to work there. Number one point. Number second, the white collar jobs, basically the medical professionals, paramedic, nurses, doctors, physiotherapists. Of course, this is around 5 to 10% chunk. And the post-19, what we have, the migration of professionals, IT professionals. So therefore, our 20 to 25 to maximum 30 will be this skilled, white collar, all of them put together. But the rest 70% will be definitely is low skilled, semi-skilled workers. I also give an, because in Bangladesh, there are around 10 million, their total migrant strength is 10 million roughly. Out of that, around 4.75 million out of the Gulf. But they are remitting only 18.5 billion as remittances 2019. You know why? Because vast majority of the Bangladeshi migrants are low skilled. They are low skilled. They are semi-skilled. They are just gone there to work because there's a complete unemployment and underdevelopment in that country. So they have gone there. So therefore, the data, what Professor Dr. Fabian said, that we need to evolve certain authentic data as regards Gulf is concerned. And second, state and central aid. See, well, the government has announced some certain amount during the COVID time, but the real issue is no specific package for the migrants have been announced by the central government. There is no specific package. If you look at Sri Lanka, if you look at Pakistan and other 5 countries, only Bangladesh have come out with a package so far. In the South Asian countries, Gulf migrants per se, no countries have announced a package for them so far. Maybe tomorrow or maybe next day there will be an announcement. So far there is nothing. Without a central aid, whether we can rehabilitate these migrants, not possible. It is not possible. You know why I'm making a distinction here? I just quickly make that, I mentioned that. See, these people, the vast amount of migrants went to Gulf because there is unemployment. Because there is no employment opportunities. That was the time when GDP was doing good, pre-COVID time, when in 2000, 2004, 2005, 2006. Now, it's a crisis period. Now the real challenge is, in this crisis, economically grim period, where we are going to give employment for these returning migrants. It's $1 million question. So we really need to think and to formulate, to accommodate, I'm saying not only unskilled or semi-skilled, all categories of migrants.
Okay, Nidya, next question, please.
Yes, sir. We have a question from Sana. She's asked, why has the Gulf migration witnessed a dip in the last couple of years as compared to a couple of decades back when Gulf countries were the hotspots for migration?
Do you have any other questions to add along with this?
Yeah, and further she is asked, what should be the stand of policy makers with regard to internally displaced migrants? Will it be possible for Gulf returnees to fill the void created by internal migrants that have left the state for their home state?
This is to
Professor
me?
Fabian. Professor Fabian can answer. It's a question relating to the dipping in the growth rate of the migrants in Gulf countries.
Okay. There is something called, with apologies, there is something called the Economist fallacy. That is linear extrapolation from the past. Since there has been positive growth in the migration to the Gulf for the last so many years, we naturally assume that growth will continue forever. Now that's a fallacy. We have no reason to, come to that conclusion. Now, in the present case, even before the COVID crisis, the migration to the Gulf has been coming down for various reasons. I shall spell out only one or two. One is the difficulties which their economies have been experiencing because of the fall in oil and gas prices. Second is local unemployment, that is young Arabs not getting the job. So Nikakat and all that, Omanization, Saudiization and all that. And the third is that they have, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
The third is that there's been a lot of, construction, buildings, bridges, roads. Now, that phase is almost getting over. So they don't need more big buildings, more longer roads and bridges and all that. I'm not saying that there is no absolute need, but I'm saying that that need is coming down, and in some cases has come down. And only to sort of, maintain what is built. Now, this afternoon, I'll be talking to our engineers in Doha. The Association of Indian Engineers, they have 2,000 members. Now, I am told by their chairman that about 10% of them have lost jobs. As Professor Ginu mentioned, there has been, cutting off of salaries and all that. But then I was told, that, this 10%, say 200, they will look around for other jobs at a lower salary and still continue there maybe for one more year before they decide to come back to India. So there are these reasons, and we have to understand that these are the basic reasons why the Gulf does not need more migrants.
Okay.
And one more point I want to make, Professor Ginu correctly mentioned that 70 to 75% are skilled and, semi-skilled and unskilled. Yeah, that's right. In fact, mainly household, drivers and all that. But at the same time, let's be realistic. A country has, needs 2,000 engineers from India. Obviously, it needs many more maids and drivers. You know what I mean? It doesn't need, suppose it needs 10,000 maids. It doesn't need 10,000 engineers or managers. So there is a,
logic,
composition of the need, of the Gulf economies, of the Gulf societies. And one more thing, the need for the so-called household, that includes not only baby care, cooking, but also nursing, because there is a growing number of people who are getting old, and also now Gulf women are taking up jobs, so they need people for childcare. So what I would call skilled home care. Now that category, I'm told, the need there will not come down and the need there will go up. So we also have to apply our mind in what way we can fill up that need. How do we train our people? How do we get into it? Because when I was in government, the government of India had taken the decision that if you are a woman, then if you are less than 30 years, and if you don't have qualifications beyond a level, then you need immigration clearance and all that. Well, that was necessary up to a point. But then, our own people were smart enough. They will go to Sri Lanka on a tourist visa, and from Sri Lanka, they will take a visa and go to Kuwait, So we have to study the opportunities there and see how best we can handle it. And let me also make one more point. The Filipino embassy, for example, when a maid reaches the Gulf country, they keep the maid for 2 days in a place, give her an introduction to the country, and also tell her, this is how you should behave, teach her little Arabic and this and that. So that is also something which we can think of.
Okay, Nidya, next question.
So this question is directed to Dr. Rumin. Do you think Kerala should give up high hopes or give high hopes to returning migrants for their rehabilitation? Because most of them are semi-skilled and fairly paid until yesterday. So do you think Kerala has that much space existing here? This question is asked by Roy John, Consular Management Consultant.
I think we have answered this question.
Yeah, already answered. Yeah, take the second.
Already answered.
Take other questions.
Okay, so there's another question from Casey Abraham, sir. He is academic director of CPPR. Why doesn't the government make it mandatory for the migrant workers to register their needs before they go, and so the public authorities can have data in their policy formulation?
It's to me.
It's a question to be answered by bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Still, Dr. Jinu, can you answer?
No, let Dr. Ambassador Fabian respond, then I'll respond.
Okay.
Okay, as Joint Secretary Gulf, I had tried to initiate a procedure where our people, and my focus was on the skilled and the semi-skilled, because, we can leave alone the doctors and engineers. They can look after themselves. It is these categories that need our help. So I had tried to initiate a scheme where the maid, for example, should be able to contact the embassy. And what I had said is, since she may have problems, the recruiting agency in India, in Thiruvananthapuram or anywhere else, should send to the Indian embassy a photocopy of the passport of the maid and details of her employer and the phone number and all that, so that the embassy will have a record. And I had also said that she should have with her a photocopy of her passport and other details, including the details for the embassy, and the phone number and all that, because the practice then was, and probably now also, is that as soon as the employee comes, the employer takes away the passport.
Mm-hmm.
So it was necessary for the employee to have a copy of the passport. Now, these things I tried, but I don't think I succeeded. But they can be done, and they should be done. With the IT that we have, it's much easier to do that.
Next.
Yes, sir. So this is again directed to Dr. Rumin. Historically, we have seen there has been a connect between subcontinent and the Arab world as
Can you be louder? I can't hear.
Yes, so this is something that you argued in your book, that there has been, a historical connect between the Arab world and the subcontinent. So this is also largely helped in migration as well. So do you think the situation is going to change given the situation now?
We have really answered this question, but still.
Maybe I can. So yeah. This is a confusion actually, that I think that there should be some clarity. See, historical linkage, trade relations, and civilizational links between the West Asia and India, that is a known fact. There were trade, there was spice trade between Malabar and Kerala and all those things. But migration, these things have contributed in the flow of migration. But the real issue is the Indians, the South Asians, and the Southeast Asians are outcome of preference and choice. I want to reiterate that point again, because we as South Asians, we are not going to create any political disturbance in the Gulf. Indians were preferred in the oil and gas installments in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait than Pakistanis. That is the trust. Therefore, that will continue. But the problem is, there are two issues when we talk about the Gulf migration. Gulf migration as a migrant, now we talk about remittances, we talk about migration. The Gulf migrant, the migrants per se don't have any basic rights. Labor rights not. There is no kind of redressal, grievance redressal system. It is an exploitative kafala controlled system. And during the COVID-19, the miseries of the migrants become more because of this kafala. So therefore, the relationship between Kerala, historical links, all fine. But as far as the migration, labor rights, as far as the migrants' life is concerned, this system, there should be modification and there should be a larger thinking about this exploitative nature of the Gulf migrants.
So
Okay.
most questions have been answered in the talk given. If there is anything other than what was mentioned already in the talk, you can shoot the question. We can take few more.
Yeah, if there is anything new.
Yes.
Not clear.
So there is one question which is asked by Tsin TJ. Will the return of migrants have any possibility of empowerment of agricultural startups in Kerala?
Okay. Again, Dr. Jinu, you can answer that whether the return of migrants will help to boost the development of agriculture sector.
See, there is, Kerala as such, we are depending highly on Tamil Nadu for our vegetable supply. That is a non-fact. Now, in the COVID, once the COVID issue erupted, we have started what is called self-sustained agricultural system. That is called Subiksha Kerala and many other projects where now we can see hundreds of people are getting into cultivation, into agriculture, productions, all these things are happening. Well, definitely there is a scope. What is I think the Agriculture Ministry's main hope is when there was a lockdown, when the borders were closed between Tamil Nadu and Kerala and with the Karnataka borders closed, we had real shortage. Now to overcome that, whether the people can be encouraged to get into the agriculture, which was the backbone of us 20 to 30 years before. Even my own household, even in Kerala, I born in a place called Chenganur. I mean, going to market was once in 2 weeks because everything was available at home. There is no need to go and buy these things. But now the situation has changed. We are getting back to that culture, and definitely, and these migrants can be a part of it. But again, as Master Fabian said, about these rehabilitation policies, category-wise, there need a larger discussion. There should be a brainstorming session. Then the government have to come out. The government just started it. So I myself not in a position to answer all these things. There are certain suggestions, that I'm making now.
Yes.
So this is from Abraham, sir. Don't you think it's high time that the country make economic policy that generates job for its people than forcing them out of jobs?
It's to me or Fabian?
Job generation. I think Professor Fabian can answer this.
Well, the question is well taken. We should certainly make sure that our people can find job within India itself. But let's also face it, we are living in an increasingly globalized world.
Yes.
And considering the population of India, I think it will be necessary for Indians to seek employment elsewhere also. But that we should increase employment within India is a point very well taken.
So we have
Yes.
answered almost all the questions.
Over.
Okay.
Okay. Then I can conclude, I think.
Yes.
No, I have a question to both of them regarding these Islamic forces in Gulf region, and I think Dr. Jinu in his book referred to some of these developments in the region. Since 1980s, there has been this Islamic, forces. I would say Islamophobia for good or bad reasons. We also know that we have some 23 ISIS recruitees from Kerala. When the state intelligence and central intelligence had conducted raids and they had interrogated them. Some of them have returned back also. So you think the present situation, the Gulf migration, and I think the Kerala because of the social fabric, and also because it's close connected to the Gulf region, we were able to save our population from the ISIS and everything. Do you think that once this disconnect happens, once there's a big picture on migration to Gulf countries, do you think we will also come under the influence of Islamic forces, global terrorist forces?
You're asking me, Dhanraj?
Yes, both of you could answer from your experience.
Ambassador Fabian, then I'll answer.
Well, let me get the question right. The question is whether, because of what is happening now, there will be any reduction in the likely number of young people who might be misguided and go and join the Islamic State. Is that the question?
Is it reduction or will we see more people join?
Okay. Yeah, I said reduction or absolute end. Now, I don't think we can say anything about it because these young people have been misguided for reasons nothing to do with the migration or employment opportunities in the Gulf. They have been misguided because of mainly because of internet propaganda, where this Islamic State propaganda was able to convince them that here is a new, what else say, utopia, an ideal utopia being constructed, and young people should come and sort of be part of that. Now that I'm afraid might go on. All that we can do is to educate our own young people, and thank God that Islamic State is territorially extinguished, but not fully. It is extinguished only in Iraq, Syria. It is elsewhere, for example, in Yemen it's there, and elsewhere also, even in Libya. So, but even more than territorially, the Islamic State is there in the virtual world. And that, I think, education of the youngsters, that has to continue. And when I say education, it also means change in policies. Because if any government does anything which gives the impression, meant or not meant, that there is Islamophobia with that government's policy, then that will be indirectly benefiting the Islamic State. So we need strong secular policies so that people who want to mislead our youngsters do not get a chance to do that.
Okay.
Dr. Jinu, can I change that? Can I modify the question a little bit?
Yes.
What I learned from some scholars is because of this huge population there, our people were not wrapped into the Islamophobia. So my question was, when we start coming back, there is a number, the reduction number of migrants staying back there. So will it lead to more, we will be forced to, or they will get enticed by this philosophy there? That was my question.
Where say the last part again.
Now, will they be enticed by this philosophy? Because more and more people are coming back, so only few are going to stay back there. So do you see a challenge there in terms of saving them from getting into that trap?
See, there is we should look this aspect into a larger level. That is we talk about remittances, but there is another terminology or a concept that was developed by American sociologists called social remittances. Mm-hmm. Social remittances are ideas, practices, traditions, religion, all this which is flowing from home state to host and host to home, because Gulf migration is both transitory and circulatory in nature. They are going for a shorter period of time and then it circulates. Then there is around 3 lakhs will be going this year. another 2 lakhs will be coming. So it always circulates. Now, the impact of transnational migration on religion is not only applicable to Islam. That is my study. It is applicable to all the three religions. The migration and remittances have changed the traditional nature of Kerala and brought into new spirituality and new elements in all the three religions, including Hinduism, Christianity, and Islam. For example, Christianity, my paper is available in the net. All these charismatic conventions, got all these pastors, all kind of new generation churches. It is direct impact of the migration and the remittances. If you look at the followers of many of the pastors or many of the preachers, a 60 to 70% will be from the Gulf. And also there is a commodification of rituals. There is a commercialization of rituals. What we see in Christianity is a commercial Christianity. In Hinduism, there is a commodification of rituals, both in Hinduism, in Christianity, and in Islam. Number one, that is the point. So don't confine this a change of religion only to Islam. That's one. Number two, how you then substantiate the recruits that have gone to Afghanistan? They have nothing to do with Gulf migration. There is an article, recent article of ISI wives, basically Malayali girls who are in Kabul. There is an article on that. So how are you going to substantiate that? Not at all. That is not a valid argument. Number three, see the prosperity of Malappuram, Kannur, and the Kasaragod districts is because of the Gulf migration remittances. Don't forget about that. There is a direct contribution of the remittances in the most positive way. There's a complete overall development in these countries if you look at this Islam. So this ISIS, this fundamentalism is an aberration. As Ambassador Fabian said, that all the religions, not only Islam, why to point out only Islam, all the three religions had to be educated properly in Kerala, because a new version of a fundamentalism we can see in Kerala. That is not only applicable to one religion, where remittances played a major role in this. Because what are the areas in which a migrant is investing money? That please look at it. Number one, in Kerala, health. Number two, education. They invest a large amount of money. Number three is construction and real estate. From the 2000 or maybe a little back onward, there is a trend. Large amount of money are investing in the religious space. Local parish or a local temple or a local mosque is becoming a jury to assess the socio-economic progress of a migrant. A migrant in Gulf is not getting the status what he is expecting. That he is getting in his local parish. That is where the huge investment of money in these religious organizations. So it's a larger question. Social remittances, transnational migrations, and new dimensions of religion in Kerala. That has to be studied thoroughly.
Okay. Danu, can I conclude?
Just my comment on that. So, are you saying there is a double whammy? COVID-19, because it actually locked down all the religious institutions.
Say again.
There is a double whammy in terms of, there is a lockdown and we have locked down the religious institutions for such a long time, unprecedentedly. And second is, you're also saying there is a reduction in remittance in the coming months. So this could be probably there will be an existential crisis for the religious institutions in the country.
Definitely, remittances are the backbone of the religious institutions in Kerala. There is no doubt about it. And this reduction of remittances will affect all the areas, all the fields in Kerala as far as concerned. One will be religious institution.
Sure. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me conclude. Okay. So it was really a wonderful session covering the various aspects and issues of the return migrants from Gulf countries. And we have covered almost all aspects relating to this problem, and we have answered almost all questions raised by our participants. Now, I know that problem for Kerala in the coming years. In fact, this problem started in Kerala even before the COVID-19. We have been discussing this issue for the last 3 years. And every year, for the last 3 years, the finance minister has been saying that we are going to prepare a project for rehabilitating the migrants who will return from the Gulf countries. And we were really expecting that phenomenon. But COVID-19 has aggravated the problem only. And now we are realizing that 5 lakh Gulf Malayalis, our Malayalis will come from Gulf countries and join the labor force. In this context, definitely we have to address certain problems. One, as raised by some participants, whether our agriculture sector will be benefited. I personally feel that the vegetable cultivation will be benefited largely. And there are a number of Pravasis who started their ventures in vegetable cultivation, and they have started producing wonderful results also. But it cannot be generalized. But that will be a movement in our state of Kerala in the coming years. That is one aspect. The second important aspect is that the change in the attitude of the people coming from Gulf countries. Yeah, they are getting good social status when they are working abroad. Even they are recruited in a low-paid jobs or low-status job. But when they are here, they are not prepared to do such work here. So we have to have good programs to change their social taboo. In fact, I will say that the dream projects of Kerala should take into account 2 important aspects. One, the awareness program. Awareness programs coupled with a counseling to change the mind of the attitude of the Pravasis when they join our labor force. That is most important things. I think that the dream Kerala will address this issue properly. Dr. Jinu Sakaria can take up this issue to a higher level. As the experts said, the migration package and the governance are the 2 important aspects that will be taken into account by the government. I hope that. But in respect of one major question, the job creation, I have genuine doubts about the job creation, especially in the productive sectors. Productive sectors, except the agriculture sector. If you are able to develop the agriculture sector, definitely you can provide employment to large number of people. But look at the elasticity of employment at all India level, very poor. If it was 0.6 at one stage, it is now reduced to 0.2 only, less than that, sometimes less than that. So at all India level, you are not able to create a job, even in the midst of the so-called liberalization and other things. So I don't think that even if you have large number of mega projects, job can be created at all India level. What you are now talking about is not the growth, jobless growth, but a growth with no job. That is a problem we are now facing at all India level, I don't think. But Kerala level, state level, if you are able to develop our agriculture sector, particularly vegetable cultivation, small enterprises sector, we may be able to provide employment at all India level also. This is one important area the government has to consider, the small enterprises development. You are talking about MSME, you are trying to change the definition, but I don't think that real trust is to be done by the government. So in this context, we are going to face a lot of problems in the coming years as far as the return of migrants is concerned. Unless they find out suitable destinations elsewhere, this will be a problem for us. With this pessimistic note, I conclude the section. I thank everyone. I invite Nidya to express vote of thanks.
Okay, Martin, sir. That was a very insightful section. Thank you, all Ambassador Praveen, and thank you, Gino sir. With that, we would conclude today's webinar. You can share your thoughts and continue the discussion on Twitter using the hashtag CPPR Live Webinars. And thank you all once again for joining us today, and we will see you next.